welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. I'm looking forward to talking with Nik Bandak. Nik, it's great to connect with you. Bandak Property Management. You're the president. You're the owner. We're going to talk about everything that you've been doing and get into a little bit of your business. Project management, I always think is such a interesting field because it's about managing people. It's about managing projects. There's so many moving parts. And so let's just kind of talk about kind of how to keep things in order and organized, which seems to be something that's very difficult for people, whether, they're in your industry or any industry. So I always like to start my shows off with kind of like where people are stuck and how they get unstuck. So when you see this characteristic, maybe, whether it's in your business or with people that you're helping, how do you get yourself or others unstuck?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great starting question. I think what we revert back to is oftentimes the fundamentals to set a good foundation. And we try to outline what have you done, where are you, and where are you headed? And by outlining it in those 3 steps, it helps us almost reverse engineer the intent to create a shared vision.
Yeah.
So giving them a bit of that North Star, right, John? So, start with the end in mind, work backwards. And then when you get to that end and you accomplish your goals as an aligned, unified front, don't get discouraged, don't get down. You just reset, right? So in project management, it's budget, scope, schedule, and we just get alignment on what those goals might mean. So it's really just setting it up so people have that alignment.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about. Reverse engineer, intent, a lot of Coveyisms in there, kind of peppered in, which is really great. But let's talk about intent for a second. So as an owner of a business, I think it's really important to lead with intent, have intent, understand your team's intent, and really kind of coach all everybody around you of the intent of a project, the why behind everything. I think a lot of times people leave that piece out. They kind of, sometimes leaders give orders, but then everybody may do them, but if they're not connected to the why or the intent behind it. So what's one piece of recommendation you would give? Because in your world, everyone needs to understand the intent, because one wrong screw can make a really big obstacle. So what's one way you can kind of share with us how you do it and how you would recommend people move with intent?
Yeah, it's our role to add discipline to a process and know our process really well. So that way, to your point, if things start to deviate from that focus, we're able to bring folks back and have a team. And then you made an interesting comment about, directing people, or, the difference between managing and leading.
Yeah.
So to kick off a project, whether we're starting at the very beginning from just this idea of this is what we want to accomplish, or if we're coming in midstream, excuse me, and we still ask those same onboarding questions of why are we doing what we are doing? Does the budget matter more than the scope? Does the emotional factor of, if it's let's say a biotech or a pharmaceutical company or somebody saying we're trying to cure this awful disease and this project is what we're focused on. Really, again, creating that unified front, not just to 5 or 6 people in the room, but to the couple hundred people who would be working on it, from, the apprentice carpenter all the way up to the CEO, and showing that we all have this shared viewpoint. And then transversely, even within the company, why are we here doing what we do? What we do truly matters, and not just saying it at a team meeting, but really living to and by those standards. I think really helps blend the personal and professional, intent of us being here at home, in the office, in front of our clients, and really truly exuding that you love what you do and you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
So that alignment is so important.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to do a little bit of a mini business course with you, because what you're talking about, you're if somebody goes to your website, bandakpm.com, they'll see that, some of the work that you've done. They'll see that you are, trailblazing the industry. You do your best to kind of, give each client a curated custom plan on how you work with them. And so break down what it takes today in a 3-part business course, what it takes to run and have a successful business for the long term. What's number one?
Yeah, number one, I would say focus is very important because that focus will help you stay committed to what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And having that vision. And we saw this for the right reasons through the pandemic, and then even now that we're outside of the post-pandemic world, there's a lot of distractions out there, macroeconomic, microeconomic, political, whatever it might be. And you have people saying something that they want to accomplish, but they're not following, right? So they're losing that focus. I would say for me and what I've learned and what my personal board of directors are always preaching to me is stay focused, always stay focused. Yeah. So that's really, I think, a catalyst for any entrepreneur.
Right. Stay in your lane. Yeah, stay in your lane, focus. Right. I love it. Number two,
I think, would be to have a champion. And, you in your role for the value you provide to your clients, and not just podcasts, but for your clients, having somebody that can give you very respectful, honest, unfiltered feedback, and having that champion to really sit there and spitball ideas off of and tell you if it's a good idea, bad idea, or you need to, massage that. And I think that's really important. It's not just one person. I just mentioned personal board of directors, and I have, a handful of people that I truly rely on for that type of honest feedback. And it's everybody from, the chairman of my personal board of directors, my wife, all the way to executives that have probably been where I'm wanting to go.
Yeah.
And they're honest. So that's number two.
Good. Love it. Number three?
Number three would be that strategic vision that would probably be from your heart. And going back to number one about having focus, what that is, but the strategic vision and being able to effectively communicate that. Nik in the company as a CEO is truly propped up by his team, and they are such an amazing support system that help me accomplish the goals that we're really pushing forward on. So, and I heard a quote, and I'll probably butcher this, but I think it'll get the point across. Your strategy is only as effective as your ability to communicate it, right? Yeah. And if I can't outline that in a very empathetic, focused, strategic manner that gets people bought in, then people will still go back to, well, why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we showing up every day, answering the phone, helping our clients? And so I would say three is just being able to share and very clearly articulate that vision.
Great. Good. Thanks. So that was great. I appreciate all that insight. Let's talk a little bit about, your path. You've worked, it sounds like you've worked for others. And when did you start your company?
So we started in June of 2020.
Okay.
So of course, the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah. So that's an interesting time to start a business. I actually think it's a great time to start a business because you're able to build mind share faster. You're able to differentiate yourself, start from scratch, because kind of everybody was working from a new beginning space. And so I always felt like in any adjustment period in in any industry or market, it's always a great time to start something. I'm a big believer of that. But what I want to talk about is do kind of a little mini life course, right? So, three things that kind of, gave you the courage to start your own business. This is, I think, it's the American dream, and a lot of people are thinking more and more about wanting to start their own business, whether it's a side gig or a full-time gig or a side gig that turns into a full-time gig. So talk a little bit about, a mini life course. what I'd like you to focus on, I want you to kind of share what you want, but based on something you talked about is like earlier, kind of coming from the heart, right? And so it tells me you kind of are building a heart-centered business, and I think that's what's needed in today's world. And so, how have you 3 ways that you would encourage other people to tap into their courage to build their business? Number one.
Yeah. I will get there. I will promise that. So, but I think it's important to say what was happening in my life at that time, because I think it's what really resonates with why I say start from the heart, right? So here's this world 4 years ago, and I'm at home. My wife is a nurse. She's at home with our kids. I have 3 kids now, but at the time I had 2 kids. They're identical twin boys. And my mother-in-law is living with us, and pandemic hits. And so, the world, like you said, changed.
Yeah.
And as I look back on it, the pandemic was awful in so many ways. But one way, I think it really reset a lot of people's focus on life and health.
Yeah.
And so for me, I had a great experience at my previous firm. But I felt like because I worked in a certain industry type, I was working quite a bit. And the commute went from your bedroom to your makeshift home office. And I just felt like there were so many months there where I just hadn't really spent time with my family. And it was such a confusing time.
Yeah.
So when I decided to resign from that company, it wasn't with the intent of starting a company. It was with the intent to really have presence equity with my family.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I was employable. I felt like I had, a skill set that people valued. And I felt like, as long as I was operating with the morality of doing the right thing, it would be okay. It was the first time in my life I ever made a decision that didn't have a plan associated with it. So call it reckless, especially with 2 kids at home during a pandemic, but felt like it was right. And my wife,
it was the time to do it. Yeah.
Fully supported it. And, time's a thief, right? You just only get so much of it. And so when I resigned, and here comes lesson number 1 or fact number 1 was, again, I keep going back to why are you doing what you're doing? And during those first, during the first year, I would say I was much like, I had a friend tell me recently, it sounds like you were a kite dancing in a tornado. And I said, yeah, it kind of was. I knew the string was attached. I had a great foundation at home. My wife was such a great support system, but we were just all flapping around, just waiting for the tornado to pass.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just working through that steep learning curve of getting the foundation in place to then, like you said, this ability to take over market share and go and really reinvent something that had been around for such a long time. And I actually had a lot of clarity on that.
Yeah.
So I made the early decision to have that vision and focus to say, I'm going to set this up so that I can grow, not stay stagnant.
Good.
That was a big win for me.
I like how you talk about, you were very conscious in your decision flow. And there's a piece of, you talk about family equity, which I love that. The pandemic was horrible on so many fronts, but for my wife and I, our kids, the time that we had together, it was pretty great. It was pretty great. We loved it. And so, what I want to extract is you made a very conscious decision, right? It wasn't, they may say kite in the wind, blah, blah, but you made a very conscious decision. And I think when you do that and you do something that's in alignment, this is my 2 cents. I find this happens to me when you're really in alignment and you're conscious about it, the universe then starts to kind of provide when you're in alignment. Yeah.
And I think everything you said is spot on. And the other part of it is with that conscious decision and alignment of what and why you're doing what you're doing is also in the background, you do need to have this sense of open honesty with yourself. So, I tell entrepreneurs all the time, and I'm not this 80-year-old monk that has all this wise, knowledge here, but I say, look, the one thing you can always be is honest with yourself. Don't tell yourself you've won the business. Don't tell yourself you've accomplished what you accomplished if you're so early on. If you have these big ambitions, every day is day one. Every day is week one. So go in with the mentality that you're always aiming to provide value, and not in the sense of paranoia, but you always want to keep that little bit of an edge. And I think we do a really good job with that here.
Yeah, that's great. All right, good. Number 2.
Oh gosh. So during the the life lessons, I think that's the segue into number 2, which is and I think it goes back to having the champions in the room with you, but being honest with yourself. If you have a business plan and if you thought something was going to work the way it was going to work, everything from looking at your revenue forecast to hiring people, always be honest. Don't tell yourself it's something and it's something completely else, because that just separates you from where you're trying to go. And then when you try to course correct, it might be too late. So the honesty, I think, is so important on a daily basis.
Good. I love it. Be real. Yeah, absolutely. Number 3,
empathy. There's such, I grew up an athlete, right? And it was like, if you want to get stronger, faster, you stress your muscles, you go and you work on your weaknesses, and then you grow. But, in this world professionally, and, you being a business coach, you probably see this so often, is that you think, all right, I'm going to put all this effort in, and then I'm going to get this expected return or result. But in entrepreneurship, you could do everything right, everything. And the decision maker just decides to go a different route, and you can get discouraged and down on yourself. But if you have empathy and understand that you controlled what you can control, you took advantage of every opportunity, you were prepared, just didn't go my way, you got to just let it go and move on, but learn from it. So treating yourself with empathy, I think, is a soft skill that is oftentimes lost.
Yeah. And letting stuff go. You got to just let it go and move on. Take the lesson, move on. Yeah. No, I agree. Great. That was great. That was great, Nick. And so, you mentioned that, you've got a board of directors, and the board of directors, and, your wife is, and things of that nature. It's really important to surround yourself with people, advisors, a board, mentors, coaches. Can you just talk about the power of that?
Oh, it is so impactful. And the people that I reach out to on I would say a daily basis are everybody from, like I said, my wife, who talks to me a lot about being human and staying focused, and that piece about empathy, and then also grounded. But then, there's biotech executives that I reach out to about how do they grow their company? What would their strategy be in a certain, maybe a predicament that I'm under or faced with. I can't stress enough that wherever you are in life, whether you're an employee, whether you're, a young professional, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're, I don't know, whatever your goals are, surround yourself with people who are where you want to be, and then people that might be with you along in the journey, and they're not looking for any return. And it's harder, it's more difficult said than done, but sometimes those people don't even know that they're on your personal board of directors, but you treat them so well with so much respect, they gravitate to you as well. It's so important to be surrounded by those people, because again, you won't always be standing upright, sprinting forward in the right direction. Sometimes you stumble, you need people to pick you up and just be there for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, a huge superpower, very impactful superpower that I've been blessed with. I'm very grateful for, to be surrounded by a lot of those people.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Quick speed round. And you, I mean, I agree with everything you just said 100%. Quick speed round. Book that's had the biggest impact on you.
The book Shantaram. It's turned into a movie. I think it's by Gregory David Lewis. It's actually not a business book, but it's a wonderful book.
Yeah.
And then the 100X Leader. Those two. I'm deviating. It's two. 100X Leader and Shantaram.
Yeah, that's on my list to read. It's on my list. I have the book. Yeah, I know. I gotta read it. Yeah, I actually have the audio too. Have you read The Alchemist?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, it's right next to me.
Yeah, I love it. A best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
That's a great one. Be honest with yourself.
Okay, good. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody needs to do to make sure that they surround themselves with the right people and advisors who will give them the raw and unfiltered truth is
To be vulnerable with them as well. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable with them as well. That'll attract those people.
It's great. Tell everybody. I just want to say one thing about vulnerability. Yeah, Brene Brown made it a household name, which I think is great. But I agree, you can't grow unless you can take feedback, and you can take it with humility, and you can take it, so it's so important. Tell people who your clients are, how they can get a hold of you, and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, so website, bandakpm.com. Our contact information is there. We're also on LinkedIn, social media, all that. Clients range from Roche, the diagnostic arm, UCSD, University of California, San Diego, Caltech, Viore, the fashion brand, and a slew of other companies, BioLegend, Revity, and we're very grateful for all of them. The YMCA, anybody who supports the YMCA are friends of ours. So we have to give them a shout out. But yeah, we're very grateful for all of them.
Love Viore. Yeah, their stuff is
Be
great.
careful. You might get a jacket here soon.
I love it. I'm wearing Viore right now as I talk to you. I wear it every day. Yeah, it's the greatest.
What Joe and his team are doing over there is exceptional. They're great people. Great people.
I started wearing it during the pandemic. I know we talk a lot about the pandemic because a buddy of mine posted it on Instagram, and he said, "This is better than Lululemon." So I bought some for myself and my son. We loved it. My whole family now, we're like a Viore family. Yeah, their stuff is great.
There you go.
Yeah, their stuff.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. They're great people.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Nik. This was great. I appreciate. I love my podcast. I'm a business coach. I work with successful people who are stuck, and I work with them to get them unstuck. And this podcast is a way for me to not only meet great people around the globe, but a common mission for the people listening and my clients, help them get unstuck. So I appreciate all your insights. Think community. I always like to extract one thing. And the one thing I'll extract, Nik, you shared a lot of great things today. It is really just kind of like get centered in your heart, and everything else kind of flows, right? If you, it helps you get on a more aligned path. So I appreciate your story, everything you shared. Think community, you can reach Nik at bandakpm.com. If you want to talk about coaching, you can reach me at johndwoskin.com. Nik, stay on. We'll catch up a little bit. But I appreciate you taking time to be on the show today. It was great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.